And God said, "Let there be
The
light."
Lord says, "Let my people go."
I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
This is the Talkin' Bible podcast.
Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Talkin' Bible. Today, we are continuing our theme of talking about this week, finding peace in the midst of the chaos of life. And we're going to look at a well-known passage, or a well-known couple of verses actually, of Jesus' words in Matthew chapter 11 from verse 28. It says, Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon me. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and my burden that I give you is light." So this is a great passage just to slow down, because this is one that you probably know or have heard preached or maybe even have meditated on, but it's a very easy passage to get to that point where we think, I know what it's talking about. I don't need to study it anymore. But it's one of those passages that actually becomes life-giving as we chew it over, as we think about it and meditate on what's Jesus saying here. What he's not saying is that come to me and you'll have no burdens. Notice that. He's not saying come to me and I'll take all your burdens away. Come to me and you won't have any heavy burdens anymore. He's not saying that. He's saying come to me and I actually will give you a burden. I'll give you a yoke. A yoke is the wooden or metal frame that goes around an ox or a beast of burden that they would use for ploughing the ground. And oftentimes you'd see the two yokes, the two heads for the two oxen would go inside this yoke and they would plough the ground. So Jesus isn't saying come to me and you won't have anything to do. Come to me and there won't be anything to carry. Come to me and you won't need to do any work. He's not saying any of that. In fact, we know that we're created and we find our perfect meaning in fulfilling his work. And sadly, a lot of the churches got this wrong and kind of thought, hey, come to Jesus and life will be easy. And Jesus isn't saying that. He's saying, come to me, I'm going to give you rest. Well, how can you get rest and work at the same time? How does that work, Jesus? Come to me and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon me, learn from me, because I'm humble and gentle at heart. Here's the difference. The word yoke actually was used for rabbis teaching at the time. So a rabbi would say, this is my yoke. These are the teachings that I want my pupils, my disciples to follow. And he would give them a yoke of teaching, a set of burdens, a set of rules that they would be expected to abide by in order to please God. And if you want to serve God faithfully, here's the yoke. Here's the list of things that you need to do. And oftentimes they would lead to incredible legalism and rule making and rule keeping, and it was hard work and it was heavy burden. And I can't help but think that Jesus was talking, some of those in the crowd looking at them and saying, hey guys, you know your rabbis put a pretty heavy yoke on. You showed up to Sabbath on Saturday and you know what he said to you? You feel a pretty heavy burden by that. Well, if you come to me, I'm going to show you a different kind of yoke, because there's a difference. I'm gentle. I'm humble. I will not let you be burdened beyond what you can bear. Yes, there is a burden, but it's my yoke. It's different. And here's the other thing that scholars recognize about this is that when Jesus is saying, take my yoke upon you, we automatically think he's the guy in the back who's pushing the plow. But the scholars seem to think that what Jesus is saying here is that Jesus is saying, hey, this is my yoke. I'm carrying it. I've actually got my head in beside you in the yoke. So there's two heads in the yoke, mine and Jesus. Well, how many people know that if Jesus has got his head in the yoke, he is carrying the lion's share of the work? I pretty much do get rest. I pretty much do get a relatively free ride if I am in the right yoke. But oftentimes we put our weary and our heaviness and our worries, and we don't focus on Jesus, and we go around trying to solve our own problems and worry, it all depends upon me. And Jesus is saying, come to me. Let me handle it. Let me take that burden from you. Put your head in this yoke and you'll find a joy and you'll find a rest. So I guess the question for you to ask yourself is, as you think about how does this apply, is where have I got my head in the wrong yoke? Where am I trying to shoulder the plow myself? And Jesus is saying, hey, just come to me. Come and take your head out of that yoke and come over and put it in this one. I've got a better yoke for you. And it's lighter compared to what you're doing. That doesn't mean it's easy. Doesn't mean it won't take work, because discipleship is effort. It takes effort to follow Jesus. We've been talking about it this week. It takes effort to get peace. It's not effort that says we have to, the effort isn't in worrying. The effort is in fixing our eyes on Jesus. The effort is in choosing to be thankful. That takes effort. It's a whole lot easier to keep worrying. It seems at first it's more natural to keep worrying, and yet we intuitively know, don't we, that It might seem easier at first just to keep on worrying about the problem, but we know the problem will not go away and eventually it will wear us down. So it might take some effort to put your head in Jesus' yoke and fix your eyes on things above and thankfulness and get in that right yoke. But once you do that, Jesus is going to take you on a ride and he's going to solve the problem. He's going to plow up the problems in your world and make it smooth. So doesn't mean you won't face burdens, but it means that his spirit empowers us. Hey, discipleship is not easy. It's a whole lot easier, it seems at first, just to go, I'm not going to worry about going to church. I'm not going to worry about being in a discipleship relationship. I don't need anybody else to tell me how to live my life. I don't need to go to a connect group. It's so much easier to look after myself and do what I want. But in reality, that's not true, friends. Because while that might be easier and more natural, that's our flesh speaking. And the end result of that will be a lot more work and effort because you're working into the realm of having to rely on yourself to do everything. But if you will say, hey, the yoke requires discipleship. Discipleship requires commitment and effort from me and dedication from me to follow the way of Jesus. But when you do, the fruitfulness of that, the peace of that, the ease that will be there is so much easier than it would be if you're following your own way. So keep trusting in God. Bring your weariness to Jesus. Lord, I'm tired. Maybe you're heading into 26 and you're thinking, I'm tired, Lord. I don't know how I'm going to do another year like last year. Bring it to Jesus. Bring thankfulness to Jesus. Rewind this week's podcast and listen to all the things about the pattern in Philippians 4 for how to find peace. Learn his ways. Learn Jesus' ways. Spend time with Jesus, and the promise is he will carry you. He will release those burdens for you, and you'll head into 2026 with a more peaceful outlook more peaceful in-look, which will hopefully lead to a more peaceful outlook on life. All right, God bless you. Talk to you tomorrow.